So today we're going to talk about slope and graphing. This is a review of what you did in Algebra 1. So just some quick things. Remember how everything is labeled. So in a Cartesian coordinate system, you have, this is your x-axis, and this is your y-axis. This is x, and this is y. Then we have quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. This point right here in the middle is called the origin. And then when you name a point, you're going to name it by its xy coordinates. Okay, this one is positive, positive. This coordinate is positive, positive. This coordinate is negative, positive, because from 0, 0, you go backwards and then up. Quadrant 3 is negative, negative. Excuse me. And then quadrant 4 is positive, negative. Up and to the right are positive directions. Down and to the left are negative directions. Okay? So if you remember, slope is rise over run, or your change in y over your change in x. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if you look at the slope on these graphs, when you're looking at a graph, you want to take 2 points and you want to count. So you count your rise and you count your run. So I rose 2 and I ran 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 backwards to the left. So I went up and to the left. So the rise of AB would be your rise over your run, and it's negative. I always put the negative in the middle or on the top. I don't ever put it on the bottom. And then CD would be, you would rise 1, 2, 3. You would positive, you would run 1, 2, 3. So your slope is 3 over 3, which is 1. We never write slope as a fraction. We always write it as a whole number. So you write it as a whole number or as a fraction so that it can represent that rise over run. Now, when you have horizontal and vertical lines, it's a little more complicated, because if you look at EF, so EF has 0 rise and a lot of run, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So its slope would be 0 over 9. Well, if you type that in on your calculator, you will find that 0 divided by 9 is 0. One way that you can remember it is it's a 0 like the top of a Z. It's horizontal as the top of the Z. Then GH, it rises a bunch. It rises 9 and it runs 0. So its rise over run would be 9 over 0. Well, if you type that in on your calculator will say error undefined. Okay? So your slope of a vertical line is undefined. Or one easy way to remember it is it's the side of a U for undefined. So 0 over 9 is 0, or 0 over anything is 0, and anything over 0 is undefined. And if you don't remember, just type it in on the calculator so you can see. So we can use the formula for slope. So slope is represented by m. It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we can use the formula if we don't have a graph. You can always take it back to a graph if you need to, but you can also use the formula. So the slope is, now it doesn't matter which one is which one is x1 and y1 and x2 and y2. But once you pick an order, stay in that order. So y2 is 5 minus y1, which is 1, over x2, which is 3, minus negative 4. Be really, really careful in this situation right here. The minus is a part of the problem. It's a part of the equation, and so it has to be there. So this is 5 minus 1, which is 4, over 3 minus a negative 4 changes to plus 4, so it'd be 4 over 7. It's already reduced, and so the slope of that line would be 4 over 7. If we find the slope of this one, again, it doesn't matter which one is the first point and which one is the second point, but I do think it's helpful to label them so that you can keep it straight. So slope is y2 minus y1, which is 4, over x2, which is negative 1, minus negative 1, okay, equals, then we simplify, negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7 divided by, you have negative 1 minus a negative 1, that becomes plus, so it's over 0. Remember, anything over 0 is undefined. Don't ever leave your answer as 7 over 0 or a number over 0. Always rewrite it as undefined. You could also put UND for short. Okay, so we've got slope is rise over run. We can do it by calculating it, or we can get it off the graph. Vertical lines have undefined slopes, and horizontal lines have 0 slope. So let's look at graphing. So a graph, if it's not already solved for y, so we need it to be in the form y equals mx plus b. If it's not already in that form, then you need to rearrange it so that it is. So then what we want to do is we want to identify our m, that's our slope, and then we want to identify our y-intercept, which is our b. So in number 1, line M, y is equal to 4. That is, we don't have an mx, so technically it's 0x plus 4 is what it would look like. So your slope is 0. Your y-intercept is 4. Now, one way that you can remember, when you only have one letter in the equation, y equals, that means that you're going to cross that axis at this point. So I'm going to cross the y-axis at 4. Well, the y-axis is the vertical axis, and the only way for me to cross through it is to draw a horizontal line. So I would draw a horizontal line that passes through y at 4, and that is line M. Okay, it has a 0 slope. It's the top of a 0, right? My slope would be 0 over whatever it is. Okay, so line N, x is equal to negative 2. Again, notice that I only have one variable in the problem. When you only have one variable, that's the only axis you're going to cross. So I'm going to cross the x-axis, which is the horizontal axis, at negative 2. Well, the only way that I can cross through the x-axis is to go through vertically. Now, it's very confusing for some students because they want to draw it in the same direction. So when it's an x equation, they want to draw it in the x direction, but you can't cross through the x-axis going in the horizontal direction. Okay, it has a slope that is undefined, and it doesn't have a y-intercept. It never crosses the y-axis, so it doesn't have a y-intercept. Okay, so it has an undefined slope. So if we look at number 3, line L, y is equal to negative 2x plus 4. It's already in mx plus b form, so your slope is negative 2. Notice it's not negative 2x. M is the number in front of the x, so m is just negative 2. The y-intercept is 4. So to graph it, you want to start, be sure, B like for y-intercept, be sure to start on the y-axis. So we would start on the y-axis at 4, and you would put a dot, and then you would do that slope. Well, that slope, we're going to make it 2 over 1, so we have a rise and a run. So I would go down 2 because it's negative, so down 2 and to the right 1, down 2 and to the right 1, and then you would connect those dots at that same slope. I'll just have to do the best I can right here. So it would look like this. That's line L. It does have a negative slope. Okay. Now this last one is not in slope-intercept form, so we need to rearrange it. So if I take 4x plus 5y is equal to negative 10, I need to get this y by itself, so I'm going to subtract 4x. That leaves me with 5y is equal to negative 4x minus 10. I always put the x in the middle of them instead of at the end, because you can't combine the 10 and the 4, number one, because the 4 has the x. But I always put it where it's supposed to be so that it's in mx plus b form. Then I'm going to divide by 5 all the way across. Divide everything by 5, and you get y is equal to negative 4/5 x minus 2. So my y-intercept is negative 2. My slope is -4/5. So again, we start at your y-intercept. So I start and put a dot at -2. And then I would go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could also go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the left 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As long as you go one positive direction and one negative direction. Oops. I was trying to turn it so I could draw it, and it moved. And then you get that equation, and that is line G. And it also has a negative slope. Okay, so to graph, you have to change it into slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b, so that you can get the slope and you can get the y-intercept to be able to graph it.